So, Ted, you're going to be working with Kerry Von Erich during this time, who has really risen in the WWF as a top baby face. You'll be working with him on house shows, and you're kind of partnered with Mr. Perfect, which you and I talked about on the recent Ask Ted Anything. Somebody asked, "Hey, did they ever think about making a tag team partner out of Mr. Perfect for you?" The answer is yes. Here in December, you guys were actually set to do it, but you're going to suffer an injury, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Kerry is having an issue with Perfect at the time, and so you're stepping into the ring with Kerry. What did you think about working with Kerry Von Erich?
Kerry was, he was a nice kid for sure, but he wasn't real easy to work with.
Mm.
I mean, the Von Erich grew up in the wrestling business, but uh, you know, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Uh, I had the matches I had with Kerry. I think they were okay, but I don't think I ever had an exceptional match with Kerry Von Erich. Do you?
I don't know that there were any that were televised. Now, I could be wrong. So I'll have to do some research and see if I can find some footage of you working with him. But it's for reference for everybody, and maybe for you. I'm not sure how much of this you know. Kerry had just come off of essentially being the owner of the Dallas territory, along with his brother and Jerry Jarrett. They were the three that were running the territory. I think that Fritz had kind of stepped back and let the boys run the business. So he's going from that where he's his own boss. And by the way, maybe rumor has it he was enjoying some extracurriculars and wasn't always showing up to the shows, and there were no repercussions for that behavior. So now all of a sudden he's working for the WWF and he's got a boss to answer to.
Yeah.
So probably a big change for Kerry. I would guess that he probably wanted to do things his way in the ring.
And he had an accident where he lost a foot, right?
Yes, a motorcycle accident in
Yeah.
1986. So he'd been working on this prosthetic leg for a while, and most guys said they couldn't really tell the difference with him in the ring.
No, and that was, to me, that was pretty good.
Impressive.
The fact that he could do that was impressive, so for sure.
Now, I've heard a few guys over the years say that they witnessed some of his self-destructive behavior. Obviously, Kerry would eventually commit suicide, which is a really sad story.
Yeah.
Did you ever see anything of that nature around Kerry, or were you not spending much time with him?
Well, I didn't socialize with Kerry a lot. I mean, of course, I don't know what all he was doing. I'm assuming that he was taking pills and what have you. And guys get into that. I mean, it's kind of like I can't remember if I can't remember who I was talking to just recently about that, and talking about. I know. I watched the movie about Elvis Presley.
Mm.
And they talked about when he was going on those tours, and he was going city to city. And you're talking about flying into a city, going and doing a concert. Now, you do the concert and you're it. There is no other attraction. He's out on that stage singing for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Or more. And then, you know what, they get, sometimes they would stay over, but a lot of times, and if they did stay over, they were out early the next day, getting to the next city, because it was go, 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 go. And so, I had been there. I mean, it wasn't like I never took a pill, so I would be awake to wrestle. But what I was afraid of, I was always afraid of falling asleep at the wheel while I was driving.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I ever took a pill, and I occasionally, I don't know what they call them, bennies or whatever. But I mean, I actually went to a doctor, and he gave me something. He says, if this is what you need, take this. And I would take that. So it's like after a match or something. So I wasn't, because I'll give you an example. We would get up, we would wrestle in Monroe, in New Orleans on Monday, and go back, and everybody stayed in Baton Rouge. It's only 80 miles. Then on Tuesday, we would wrestle in Baton Rouge. Okay. So Wednesday morning we would get up and we would drive all the way. It was 240 miles to Shreveport on a one lane road, and we would do our interviews in Shreveport on Wednesday, have lunch, and get in our car and drive to Jackson, Mississippi, where I live now, and wrestle that night. And then after that match, get in the car and drive another 180 miles all the way back to Baton Rouge.
Mm.
So yeah, there were times when I would take something to help me stay awake. But things like that always scared me. So I never, the whole thing about addiction, and I was like, no, like, um, it's kind of like, sometimes I take the pill, and sometimes I just, drink a thermos full of coffee.
Man, good for you for being able to kinda stay on the straight and narrow. I mean, a lot of guys from this era struggled. Kerry wasn't alone in it, but, you had made the Elvis comparison, and I think that's a good comparison for what Kerry and his brothers must have been dealing with in Dallas, where, like, these guys are local heroes in Dallas to probably roughly the same level of fame, where
Yeah,
women all wanna be with them all the time. They're traveling place to place. People are cheering them. They're getting free things from people everywhere they go.
yeah,
So it's like, that's a lot of responsibility for anybody, and I think that, unfortunately, Carrie kind of fell into the trap of all of it, and yeah, it's, wound up getting its hold on him.
yeah, yeah. So, but I mean, I had the matches I had with Kerry. I would say they were okay. It wasn't. I mean, he grew up in the business like I did, so he was not unaware. But uh, he it wasn't the greatest match I ever had either. It's kind of like depending on how he was that night.